Donald Trump's controversial actions and statements continue to provoke criticism and global concern. Recently, he made questionable claims about water distribution in California, alleging that he turned on a faucet to provide water to Los Angeles. However, during his administration, directives diverted water from reservoirs unnecessarily, creating risks of flooding and potentially depleting critical summer resources. These actions underscore his pattern of distorting facts for self-promotion. Trump's social media presence has also grown increasingly erratic. He made vague remarks about TikTok, saying, "Great interest in TikTok would be wonderful for China and all concerned." Political commentators, including Max Kennedy, have noted concerns about his health and rhetoric. On economic policy, Trump's trade tactics remain under scrutiny. His signature tariffs often proved damaging and ineffective. Despite bold claims, he ultimately dropped tariffs with Canada and Mexico without securing substantial concessions. Critics argued these moves highlighted his weakness on the global stage. For instance, a $1.3 billion Canadian investment in border security and Mexico's deployment of 10,000 troops were measures already announced prior to Trump's negotiations. The Sydney Morning Herald and other outlets have pointed out Trump's trade blunders, noting that his tariff threats initially destabilized global markets before recovering when he backtracked. CNN's Caitlin Collins interviewed a MAGA Republican congressman who struggled to identify tangible gains from Trump's trade negotiations, admitting they merely reiterated existing agreements. Domestically, Trump is focusing on dismantling the Department of Education, a move that would disproportionately harm red states reliant on federal education funding. Analysts note that the 15 states most dependent on federal education funds all supported Trump in 2022, making his proposal potentially devastating for public education in these regions. Adding to controversies, reports suggest Elon Musk and his associates have gained access to sensitive government data, including financial aid information from the Department of Education. This raises privacy and security concerns given Musk's erratic behavior and ties to Trump. On the international front, Trump recently suggested taking back the Panama Canal, despite the logistical impossibility of deploying U.S. Navy vessels through it due to their size. This follows Marco Rubio's claim of securing naval access to the canal, a deal rendered meaningless by physical constraints. Trump's disdain for international aid is also evident. Plans to dismantle USAID threaten vital humanitarian efforts worldwide, including support for women battling HIV/AIDS and Ebola researchers. This move would harm American farmers and businesses supplying goods for aid programs. Trump's immigration policies remain draconian, with plans to expand detention facilities and potentially use Guantanamo Bay to house 30,000 migrants. These measures have sparked protests across the U.S. Public opinion largely favors a pathway to citizenship for contributing migrants, with polls indicating that 58 to 60% of Americans support such measures. In contrast, President Biden has significantly reduced border crossings, except during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic under Trump's administration. Biden's policies focus on targeting criminal elements while promoting a humane approach. Trump's pattern of targeting vulnerable groups persists. He frequently attacks entities like the Department of Education and USAID while avoiding criticism of authoritarian leaders such as Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Mohammed bin Salman, and Kim Jong-un. In a particularly absurd move, Trump threatened action against the Panama Canal despite Panama's concessions being practically irrelevant due to physical limitations. This pattern of empty threats and targeting allies while cozying up to adversaries underscores his erratic approach to governance. The consequences of Trump's policies are already being felt, particularly in red states. Educators and community leaders in these states are concerned about the potential loss of federal education funding. CNN highlighted that many of these states heavily rely on federal support, leaving residents grappling with the reality of Trump's empty promises. Protests against Trump's immigration policies continue to grow, reflecting widespread dissatisfaction. Americans overwhelmingly support practical solutions that benefit the economy and uphold humanitarian values. Yet Trump's fixation on punitive measures and isolationist policies remains unchanged. In the face of these challenges, it is crucial to stay informed and engaged. The actions of Trump and his allies have far-reaching implications for democracy, human rights, and economic stability. Understanding these policies is essential for making informed decisions and advocating for a more just and equitable future.